Welcome to the Morning Download Podcast, your go-to resource for personal finance, economics, and market insights. In just 8 minutes a day, we provide valuable information to help you make better money decisions. Don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter at https://wmorningdownload.com. Subscribe. Let's dive right in. In today's episode, we'll cover Nvidia's soaring earnings, Biden's forgiveness of student loans, rent issues for tenants, Germany's zero, 2% growth prediction, Nigeria's currency crisis, Vietnam's wealth spike, Jeff Bezos selling Amazon stock, mortgage demand dropping, Japan's Nikkei reaching an all-time high, Nvidia's surpassing expectations with earnings and sales, the impact of China restrictions and slower gaming sector growth on certain areas of business, the decline in U.S. rents in December but still being 22% higher than in 2019, over 22 million households paying more than a third of their income in rent, and tips to reduce rent. Lastly, it's discussed that working harder won't change the outcome if the task can only earn $5.
The Biden administration is making a big move in the student debt space by forgiving $1, $2 billion in student debt for 150,000 borrowers. This is part of their new repayment plan called the Saving on a Valuable Education, or SAVE plan. But who does this relief actually benefit? Well, it's only for individuals who originally took out $12,000 or less and have been in repayment for at least 10 years. If you meet those conditions, you'll be getting an email in about a week notifying you of your eligibility for the debt forgiveness. This is a significant step forward for the Biden administration, especially considering the challenges they've faced in the past. Just last June, the Supreme Court blocked Biden's sweeping student loan forgiveness plan. However, despite that setback, they have still managed to cancel debt for almost 9 million borrowers, providing a total relief of $138 billion. Now let's take a look at some global economic news. Germany has recently announced that they are slashing their 2024 growth forecast to just 2%, citing a tricky economic situation. Nigeria is also facing its own struggles with a currency crisis and soaring inflation, which has now reached 30%. On the other hand, Vietnam is expected to see a sharp spike of 125% in wealth growth over the next 10 years. In other news, Jeff Bezos has been selling off some of his Amazon stock, with recent sales totaling around $4 billion. And in the housing market, mortgage demand seems to be cooling off as interest rates rise. Applications to refinance home loans dropped 11% last week compared to the previous week, and applications for mortgage to purchase a home fell 10% for the week. And finally, an interesting tidbit from Japan's stock market. The Nikkei index climbed over 2% and closed above 39,000, surpassing the all-time high it hit back in 1989. It's always fascinating to see how the markets can reach new heights after such a long time. Nvidia just released their earnings report, and let me tell you, they knocked it out of the park. They not only beat Wall Street's expectations for earnings and sales, but they also forecasted better than expected revenue for the current quarter. Impressive, right? Let's dive into the numbers, shall we? Their earnings per share came in at $5.16 adjusted compared to the expected $4.64, and their revenue? A whopping $22, $10 billion, surpassing the forecasted $20. $62 billion. That's a 265% increase from the same time last year. Nvidia attributes this success to the incredible demand for AI chips meant for servers. They're really riding the wave of the AI revolution. In fact, Nvidia's CEO, Jensen Huang, is super optimistic about their future. He believes that conditions are excellent for continued growth, not only in 2025 but beyond. Now, there were a couple of bumps in the road. Nvidia experienced a hit to their data center revenue due to recent U.S. restrictions on exporting AI semiconductors to China. However, they've adapted and are ready to conquer the Chinese market again with upgraded chips that meet the latest requirements. Their gaming business, which used to be one of Nvidia's strongest sectors, didn't grow as much as expected, with a YoY increase of only 56% to $87 billion, and their smaller businesses didn't shine brightly either. The automotive business saw a decline of 4% in sales, and their OEM and other smaller businesses only registered a modest 7% growth. But here's an interesting twist. Nvidia's impressive earnings seem to have a positive ripple effect on other companies. AI and semiconductor stocks like TSMC, Supermicro Computer, and ASML all surged after the news broke. So, all in all, it's been a wild ride for Nvidia with some ups and downs, but their impressive earnings report puts them at the forefront of the AI revolution. So, let's talk about personal finance, specifically dealing with rent as a tenant. This is a topic that affects a large number of people in the US, and unfortunately, nearly half of them cannot afford to pay rent. But there are some important trends to note. Nationally, rents have been declining for the past 8 months. In December, the median asking rent was $1,113, which was a decrease of $4 from November and $63 from the peak in July 2022. However, compared to pre-pandemic levels in 2019, median rent is still $309 higher, representing a significant 22% increase. While it's good news that rents are growing at a slower pace now, it's still a major concern because a staggering 4 million households in the US are paying more than 1/3 of their income towards rent. Anything over 30% is considered an excessive burden. So, what can you do to reduce your rent? Here are a few tips to consider. First, negotiate when you renew your lease. You may be able to freeze the price or even get a reduction. Also, think about signing an extended lease if it makes financial sense for you. Another option is to consider sharing your place with someone. This way, you can split the rent and potentially save some money. Additionally, think about giving up your parking space if you have one, as it could help reduce your monthly expenses. If you're open to it, you could also explore the possibility of moving to a cheaper place. Some states or cities offer more affordable rents than others, so it's worth researching your options. Lastly, keep in mind that there's a belief that rents are lower in the winter, so it might be a good time to go apartment hunting. Have a great quote for you today. Have you ever worked on something and no matter how hard you worked, you only ended up making a measly $5? Well, you're not alone. Idowu Koyenikan once said, "When you work on something that only has the capacity to make you $5, it does not matter how much harder you work. The most you will make is $5. Isn't that interesting? It's a reminder that sometimes, no matter how much effort we put into something, there's a limit to what we can achieve. It's important to recognize when it's time to shift our focus and find new opportunities that have the potential for greater rewards. This quote also teaches us the value of prioritizing our time and energy. If we find ourselves constantly working on projects or tasks that don't offer much in return, maybe it's time to reassess our efforts and invest our resources in things that have the potential for higher returns. So, next time you catch yourself putting in extra hours for a mere $5, remember the wisdom of Idowu Koyenikan's words. Keep your eyes open for opportunities that can truly make a difference in your life.
In today's episode, we covered a range of topics, including Nvidia's soaring earnings, Biden's forgiveness of student loans, rent issues for tenants, Germany's growth prediction, Nigeria's currency crisis, Vietnam's spike in wealth, Jeff Bezos selling Amazon stock, mortgage demand dropping, Japan's Nikkei reaching all-time high, China restrictions affecting Nvidia, and tips to reduce rent, all while exploring the idea that working harder won't change the outcome if the task can only earn $5. Thanks for tuning in to the Morning Download, your go-to podcast for personal finance, economics, and market insights in just 8 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe for more helpful content and sign up for our free newsletter at Morning Download. Come subscribe.